Hey guys, Dan here with your Connors review for the week. We are back. We had a little hiatus week last week that I didn't realize, but now we have a brand new episode tonight. It is called The Icewoman Cometh, and that revolves around the Beverly character. So the grandmother to the kids, the great-grandmother to Harris, Mark, and Mary, and I guess little Beverly Rose as well. And that is sort of the crux of this episode. So we do have Estelle Parsons returning as Grandma Bev, who, God bless her, she's in her 90s and she is still, sharp as a tack, still so funny. She gets a lot of the good lines in this episode just from her sheer nastiness. And it's always great to see her. She's only probably able to really do, a couple of episodes every season, but I'm so glad for that. And so it was great to see her. So basically, the main plot of the episode revolved around her money, and we learned early in the season when Jackie and Becky wanted to open the lunchbox again that Darlene had power of attorney, had control of the money, and so here Beverly is still, of very sound mind, and she has started paperwork to get Darlene out of the way and take over her own power of attorney again. But she also has $5,000 that she wants to give to one of the kids. She chooses Mark to go to some sort of computing camp at a university because he was writing to her a couple times a week while she was away, and he's the only great-grandkid that really, seems to care about her. So this sparks some outrage from Darlene because she is very worried about Harris and how she has, just fallen on hard times and got kicked out by her friend because she lost her job and this and that. So now she's back at the house, but she started this job at the tattoo shop, which was at the end of the last episode. And, Darlene would like the money to go to her to get, some sort of tattoo schooling. Well, she asks Bev to give $5,000 to both the kids, and Bev says, "Nah, we're not going to do that. I only wanted to go to one kid, so okay, fine. If it's Harris, then I guess it'll be Harris." But of course, she's got to stir up trouble, go to the lunchbox, make fun of Jackie a bit for opening it in the first place, and then straight up tells Mark, "Hey, your mom and I had a conversation." So Mark comes home very upset and has a chat with his mom about all of that, which results in Darlene still wanting the money to go to Harris, but not much of a defense for, well, you're smart, Mark, it'll work out, and he's like, well, what if it doesn't? So that was sort of the A story, and how that resolves, I assume you've all seen the episode by now, is that she gives the money to Mark anyway, and it's basically a whole ploy because she's angry at Darlene for letting Jackie and Becky open the lunchbox in the first place. So that's how that sort of ends things with that. And then the B story is about Dan and Louise. Katie Seagal reprises her role at the end of the episode. And basically Dan is being razzed at the poker game by the guys about letting Louise get away. And him and Becky have a great conversation in the garage about how much he really does miss her. And Becky's like, well, maybe she misses you too. There's still time to make this right. Figure out where she is and go to one of her concerts. He's been following her tour on Instagram, so or Twitter or something. I think it was Instagram, they said. So he goes out and sees that she is making out with somebody else. So these are two pretty juicy stories about people that I am glad are back on the show. I was happy to see Katie Seagal. I think the Dan Louise storyline is great, and I was very happy to see Mark after a couple-week break from his character. And not only was he in it, but he was one of the main plot points. I would say probably the main plot point. Him and Harris and Bev, really, and Darlene. So that was great. This episode was weird for me because I really liked the plots. I really liked where they were going with it. And I love that, Bev is ooh, God, she's just back and so nasty as ever, which was great. And they never do it like too over the top. Like, I know Darlene made a joke about not recognizing her without her cloak of 101 Dalmatians, but like they never go so over the top with it. I think these types of family members exist, and they are there to just boil everyone's blood. And once you get to your 80s and 90s, it's like you don't care, And she didn't care in the original run of Roseanne when she was only in her 70s. So she's such a great character. I was glad to see her back. She had a great line. Speaking of like cartoon references, she had a great line when Darlene tried to trick her, with words, and she was just like, "This isn't a Bugs Bunny cartoon, Darlene." That was great. But the episode on the whole, I don't know. Like, I have mixed feelings about it because I don't think it was as funny as it should have been. I think many of the jokes seemed forced, and sadly, a lot of them were in the intro where DJ and Mary were, because DJ and Mary came back for this episode as well. We haven't seen them in weeks, really since the live episode. Mary we saw once since, but not DJ. And DJ was also in the poker game scene, but I don't think he's... Oh, he did have one comment, and he made one joke about Roseanne and Dan's sex life. But unfortunately, I felt like they were kind of shoehorned in because they, again, don't have a storyline of their own. And I don't feel that way about the other characters. Like Jackie, she didn't have really much part of the storyline, but I didn't feel like she was shoehorned either because she's been in every episode since. So I thought just the jokes about picking her up at the airport, and that seemed a little bit forced. And a lot of the humor did, but I liked all the moving parts to this. Like, there were several scenes that ended on not a joke. The original Mark and Darlene discussion, not a joke. When Becky goes to see Dan in the garage, there were certainly some jokes in the scene, but the way they ended it was just sort of like, hey, go see her, good luck. She kind of gives him a wink as she leaves the garage. Not a joke, and I like that. I like that, the Roseanne method has always been to kind of balance some really solid drama with hilarious moments as well. So, in that respect, I liked it, but definitely joke-wise, it did not hit for me as much as some of the other episodes. And actually, John Goodman was definitely more in serious role here. They didn't give him a ton of jokes. Which is okay. Everybody around him was telling jokes. But I liked the poker game motif. I always love, speaking of old cast members returning, I always love seeing James Pickens, I believe is his name. He's on Grey's Anatomy now, or was for a long time. I'm not sure if he's still on. But he plays good friend Chuck, and Chuck and Anne Marie have been there since season 1, so I always love to see him. So he showed up at the poker game, and then some of the new buddies that we've seen recently. The guy that owns the tattoo parlor, for example, that Harris works for, and then one of their other buddies. And I was glad not to see Dan Aykroyd there. He was, that was the first poker game, I think, since we've seen the Dan Aykroyd episode, which was, talk about shoehorned in, oh my god. But I thought that the poker game dynamic was good, and it gave those guys some funny lines as well. Especially when, the one said hashtag couple goals about Dan and Louise, and then Chuck's like, all right, I don't know what that was, but da-da-da-da-da, then said his line. So, I think that, lent itself to some comedy. This is the most that they've evoked the Roseanne character in probably half the season. I mean, the last few episodes didn't even mention Roseanne, and here we have her looming large over the storyline. In fact, so much so that they make a joke about how, you know, she's kind of in the garage watching them. But I thought that it was good. It worked. You know, I think it makes sense that Dan is struggling so much with her loss still after it's been almost 2 years now. And he even says, you know, I thought it would get easier, and it doesn't. And I love the dynamic between him and Becky. I'm tearing up a little bit. My aunt actually just passed a few weeks ago, so I'm thinking, you know, how hard this has been for my uncle, especially with the quarantine. So forgive me, but Becky obviously has gone through this with her husband Mark, who died. I don't know exactly when, but certainly between the original Roseanne and the Connors, just like the real actor did. I don't know when they had him die on the show, but because the show wasn't on. But I love that she can have that camaraderie with Dan, and it's a horrible, obviously shared experience, but it is, you know, she is somebody that Dan can lean on. And it's kind of funny because nobody wanted to go in and talk to Dan about the whole thing, because from what she heard from DJ at the poker game, it was all about Dan being unconfident about his sex abilities after being with Roseanne for so long. And so, you know, Becky was like, oh, you know, if I had only thrown scissors or something, Darlene would be in here. So it's like, you know, she didn't really want to go in, but I'm glad that it was her. You know, the writing staff did a great job there, because it really is so great that they can share that awful experience together of losing their spouse to a sudden death. You know, and it's obviously a horrible thing, but it's so nice that they have each other. And so that was a great scene. And the Bev stuff was definitely funny. I always love when she's around. I do think there were some forced jokes, but not with her. You know, her character was great. And I like sort of the way that everything resolved itself. Mark was always going to get that $5,000. You know, Bev set everybody up, like always. But then at the end of the episode, she ends up going to the tattoo parlor anyway to sort of support Harris in that way and cover up a really racist tattoo she has from World War II days. So, you know, I think everything wrapped up nicely. I think that the storylines were great. I was so happy to see both of these storylines get a good, you know, chunk of the episode. Lately, they've been sort of doing 3 different things an episode, and sometimes it's worked, but sometimes it is a little too crowded. And here, even though you had not only the full cast, but Bev and Chuck and Katie Seagal, Louise, it didn't feel overstuffed, you know, so, and I liked that about it. So I'll wrap it there. I will leave the ice. I'm sorry, what is it? It's not the Iceman Cometh. The Icewoman Cometh? Yes. The Icewoman Cometh. I leave it with a B+. An enjoyable episode for sure. If only maybe the jokes weren't so forced. But it had a lot of actual jokes too that I thought were very natural as well. So another good one. This might even be an A-. I don't know. I'll leave it with a B+, but maybe it's better than that. I don't know. But that's it. There is another new episode next week. Originally, there were supposed to be 20 episodes, but Wikipedia is still only saying 19 for the season. So I don't know if we're going to get all 20. Oh, and by the way, I have some casting news, too. I said this on my TV News and Reviews show the other day, but the Connors reviews always get more hits than that. So if you haven't heard, all 4 of the major characters in the adult realm, Laurie Metcalf, Lacey Gordonson, John Goodman, and of course Sarah Gilbert, have negotiated contracts for season 3. So all 4, as long as ABC renews the show, and they would be insane not to. It is their number 1 show, number 1 comedy, I should say. I think their number 1 show is still Grey's Anatomy. God bless them. But it's the number 1 show overall, comedy-wise, on ABC, and number 2 in the 18 to 49 demo, and the number 1 show in that demo is Modern Family, which is going off the air. So it makes total sense for them to renew it. There's no way they're not going to. But it's great that the 4 core members have all signed on. Lacey Goranson got a nice uptick, from what I understand, in her salary, because she signed on for much less than the other cast members, which makes sense. Acting wise, she was the lowest profile. She hadn't really done anything of note in a long time. Goodman and Metcalf, and obviously Roseanne, because the contracts date back really to Roseanne season 10, got the highest salaries. And then Sarah gets a nice acting salary, but she's also one of the head producers, since she sort of created the reboot. So she already gets a hefty payday. But I think that's great that Lacey Goranson got more for season 3, because she really is one of the anchors of this show. I mean, I think, losing Roseanne was a blow, although I like this version better than Roseanne season 10. I really, really do. I think the Connors is just nailing it week after week. But I would say if they lost any of those other 4, I think you got to pack it in. So I'm glad that Lacey Goranson upped for more money. I'm glad that she's going to be a part of season 3, just like everybody else. So no official word on season 3 yet, but at least the contracts have been inked, from what I understand. So that is good news. But thanks for watching. I'm doing quarantine videos every day, so if you only typically watch my Connors videos, branch out. Maybe you'll find something else on my channel you like. I've been doing Masked Singer guest videos. I do a TV news and reviews every week. Lately, since the quarantine, I've been doing a lot more movie reviews too. So if you're stuck at home and wondering what to watch, movie-wise, I have a lot of suggestions for you with my movie videos. So yeah, check out some stuff. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I just reached 400 subscribers about a week ago, which is a huge milestone for me. So please subscribe if you haven't already and you enjoy my videos. And always comment below. I love hearing from you guys. And you guys on the Connors videos always comment the most. I love having conversations with you over the comments. So please do that. And that will do it. Thanks so much for watching. Be safe.